What's up, everybody? Welcome back to another episode of the Fulfillment Podcast, where we help discover a better you by finding fulfillment in life, relationships, and finance. I'm your host, Josh, and in this episode, I have a special guest. Brought in my little cousin Mariah's in from out of town, and I wanted to bring her in on the show. We have a lot of really good in-depth conversations on a lot of the stuff and the topics that we talk about in this podcast. So as we were driving back and as we kind of like go explore and do all sorts of crazy different things, it's good to have somebody that you can have kind of like these in-depth conversations with. So without giving too much away, Mariah, welcome to the show.
Woo, thank you. Also, I just want to make note that you say I'm your little cousin as I'm like 12?
Yeah. You are
and
we
the grew up
tiny...
together, thank you.
So you're what? You're 28,
I'm
right?
28, yes.
28. I am 29 right now.
Yeah, so I'm your younger cousin, not your little cousin.
Yeah, younger. Also quite smaller, but agreed, not too much off. But yeah, so kind of just wanted to bring Mariah on, give you guys a whole bunch of like in-depth conversations, because I think the stuff that we talk about is super useful, and I think it's stuff that really ties in or relates a lot to the conversations that really are posted on here and the different episodes that we have. So as we, even like yesterday, as we were coming back from Denver, driving down, just kind of discussing the things that we talked about in the car was really cool. I think we had a lot of things that we talked about in terms of, you know, the way our parents kind of grew up and raised us, and the way we're figuring out now that they don't even have their shit together, whereas we think we do now. You know, it's like everything has shifted, and it's super weird just to realize that like all of a sudden now we're almost the experts, and everybody's kind of like taking advice from us as we're going through things.
Yeah, for sure. It's definitely interesting.
It is. It's an interesting paradigm shift. And I think that's, if you think about it, right, that's kind of like the most important piece is realizing that we grow up understanding, like our parents teach us what they understand is kind of like the best thing. But at the same time, they're as almost clueless as we are now.
Oh, yeah. They're figuring it out along, their journey too. Yeah. For sure. And especially when you get to this point now where, we are 28, 29, and we are on such a different path than they were at this age. And so it gets interesting, especially, when they're trying to still be like your elders and give you advice and all this stuff, but totally different path. Different.
To give you guys a little background, so Mariah and I kind of have taken like a similar path through this whole growing up and relationship thing and getting like into the growth phase of where we are in life. We got married at a relatively young age, kind of around when our parents did almost, maybe a little bit later, but earlier than most of our like siblings and other cousins and stuff. And then we both went through some sort of like realization or awakening or difficult event to where we then broke it off. So like we've both been married, we've both been divorced, and we've gone into this transformation phase of realizing that there's all these different things that we have to learn and realize and understand before we really get to be to that like genuine happy point again. And it's all about really learning the discovery and the process that you have to go through in order to get there. And it's not easy. Like there's a ton of shit that I've learned as I've gone through really the last, I say 3 years since I've been in Colorado, that I personally have gone through to discover how you can identify love, fall in love, lose that same thing, all in the name of growth, so that you've built this like sustainable relationship. I think you've kind of gone through something similar too, right?
Yeah, for sure. 100%.
It's interesting. I just think when you look back at the way things have gone, I know we talked about this earlier, but when you look back at the way that all the different events and processes and stuff that played out, you almost notice that there's like a method to the madness, right?
Oh yeah, for sure. The puzzle pieces, they all come, but they all come sporadic and at different times. And when they start to kind of come together, it's pretty awesome. And then you get addicted to the process and growing and, figuring it all out and putting it all together. Yeah,
definitely. It's crazy to see how, because we talked about, so one of the first things we talked about last night, or it was actually like one of the last things we talked about as we were driving back, was how it's almost like the universe does things and puts things in your way to start and like almost teach you or put you on a path, right? To teach you these lessons and these things you have to learn as you go through like your own like personal individual journey to figure these lessons out and to find, right? Because we talked about how you were with the person you actually married, and then after you got through that divorce, then you met somebody else that you're like, oh man, like this guy's even better. And then,
oh yeah, always gets better.
Yeah, it always gets better. Exactly. Like constantly improving and constantly growing. And you, as long as you like don't settle for either like going back or something worse, then you're always going to be moving forward. And it's like the relationship you had right after the divorce, like you realize you're like, oh, this is so much better, but it wasn't everything you wanted. And you let go of that. You didn't stay in it because you've done that once. You've learned that lesson. And by letting go of that, you then found something that's even like the next best thing.
For sure. Just keeps going up. And I think that, that's big with continuing to grow yourself, right?
Yeah.
Because I could easily get stuck at a point and then maybe I don't outgrow that relationship, or not even outgrow, but like come to realization that, hey, this is great, because I don't think all breakups and stuff need to be a bad thing, but that there's still so much out there and there's still so much growing you have to do as individuals.
Yeah.
Before you can even do that together. And sometimes you have to go separate ways to do that individually.
Yeah. Almost like you have to go experience becoming self-love, like becoming yourself really, before you can come back together.
For sure. And definitely being yourself, because I also think that's a huge thing with relationships. And if you're not ready to be in one, then sometimes the growing, gets, a little hazy and whatnot, because you're so focused on being in this relationship that maybe you keep yourself from doing something that you would do if you were by yourself. But since you're in this relationship, you're like, oh, maybe that person's not so into this, or maybe they wouldn't like this idea. So you kind of tweak your path. Therefore, you're not totally figuring yourself out.
Yeah.
You're kind of shaving off the edges and molding yourself into something that you think this person wants you to be. And then I think that just kind of snowballs into a relationship as well.
Do you think a lot of people do that? Like,
I do, because I think
themselves?
it's super easy. I mean, I've definitely done it. I think when you're with somebody and your lives kind of combine and whatnot, you want to make that person happy, right? You want them to be with you as well. And so you get caught up in thinking about doing everything for them, or how, stuff that would like fulfill them, I guess, instead of working on yourself. And I think it's kind of like the whole flying airplane thing, where it's like you got to put your oxygen mask on first before you're able to help anyone else out. And if you're starting to like shift your life to be the person that the person you're with wants you to be, or this and that, then you're losing yourself, whether you realize it or not.
Yeah, almost like they fell in love with it, really, with you for being yourself.
For sure, before they were around to skew your way.
Before, because and that's actually like a really interesting topic, because once you start changing, like, so they fall in love with the person that you are, and then you start changing yourself because you're not comfortable with who you are. You think that you should be somebody better because you're not the best version of yourself.
Right.
Whereas, almost like if you were to take that time and spend it by yourself, you would become the best version of yourself. So when you are with them, there's no changing to do, because you're already the best person. There's no like, I have to be better.
For sure. And I think I think it's a fight, because I'm kind of, going through that a little bit right now, where it's like, it's so easy to give yourself to somebody, in a sense of like, I'd consider myself a giver, right? Like, I very much like to make other people happy. I love it. And I will lose myself in bending over backwards to do that, whether it's like, a friendship, a relationship, any sort of, just people in general. I like to make them happy.
Right.
And I have learned the hard way to make sure that I have to take care of myself, and I have to stay true to like who I am, and I have to do things for myself in order to do those the best that I can. And I can still get to a path where it's like, ooh, I want to do this, and I can get caught up in this and this and this, but wait a minute. I haven't done the things that I like to do for myself, and I got to still do that so that I can be the best me, so that I can be the best version of myself for that relationship, right? Like, even the person that I'm in a relationship with, the best thing that they could do for me is to be the best them. And that's going to be other aspects than just like doing stuff with me, right? That's going to be having their own hobbies and doing their own growth and all that other jazz.
Yeah, like there's a lot of just personal insecurities that can come out if you don't spend that time, right, to heal and sacrifice yourself and self-love. Like, learn how to just be comfortable alone.
For sure. Because I also don't think that it is right to put all that pressure of like your happiness and fulfillment on somebody else. I don't think that that's possible.
Okay.
I think that's just a lot of pressure, right? So if you're looking to another person and saying like, hey, you make me happy, you're where my happiness comes from.
Yeah.
They're still human. I mean, they're going to have their ups and downs and this and that. So if that's your stable foundation, is them and their emotions, you're screwed. I've been there, and I've been the person that the other person has turned to me for that, and it is stressful. And ultimately, breakdown's gonna happen, and like, dude, I can barely keep myself in check,
right.
Let alone
right.
then the added pressure of like, shit, if I'm not happy and I don't have it figured out, this person's telling me that they can't be happy, like, oh, hell no.
Yeah, it almost makes it like you have to have your shit straight, because now you're figuring out something else. Because like if you're gonna help somebody else, then you already have to kind of know what you're doing.
Yeah, 1,000%.
And if you don't know what you're doing, there's no fucking way you're gonna help someone else figure it out either.
Absolutely not. But I mean, I've been caught in that. It's and you don't know what you don't know.
Right, and it takes these like lessons in these times that you have to go through in order to learn those difficult lessons to take
for sure.
forward with
you. It's a bittersweet process. Definitely.
It's almost like we talked about the person that you're dating now, right? You saw them before, before COVID, really?
Yeah.
In the restaurant, right? You saw them not in a restaurant, it was a grocery store. Yeah. And during that time, so you ran across them in the grocery store, but you didn't say any. Like, it was probably you both probably saw each other at different points, like you didn't know, and you just ignored the moment almost altogether.
Yeah, I don't know,
right? Because
crazy
and we talked about it, but like what was happening was almost, here's a teaser of like where you're going and what you're going to have or where you could be, right?
For sure,
but you weren't ready.
Timing wasn't there.
The timing wasn't ready for you. It wasn't right.
Yeah.
And it was the universe putting that, like, this is the taste of where we're going to go. Here's the goal that we're going to achieve. We still have a lot to do until we get to that point, until that comes back into our life.
You have a few things where, like I could have easily, made small talk, cool.
Yeah.
It's whatever. Go about your day. Even if talk got deeper than that, I don't know. I probably would have kept myself shut off just because of a situation that I was in, or I'm pretty sure I was kind of, like talking to a
somebody
possible dude, whatever at the time. Yeah, it's just funny to think back now because I remember specifically seeing him in the store from whatever, not that far away.
Yeah.
And just like, I could easily go say hi, but I'm just not. Something is just, no.
Something's telling me not to.
Yeah, and now fast forward a few months, 6 months, whatever it was, I don't know, more than that. Wow, we've been in this COVID shit for a long time.
Yeah, it's been a hot minute.
But anyway, fast forward, and then it's just kind of like when things are ready, when you're ready and can appreciate what's in front of you, then it presents itself, and it's interesting.
Do you think that there is, I guess, a gut feeling or some sort of internal knowing to where you know when to say hi and when to hold back, and what is the right time and what is not the right time? Because if you would have interfered at that point, do you think things would be different today than what they are?
Pardon me, if what?
If you would have interfered, so like said something at that point when it wasn't planned or proper.
I know, that's interesting, because I have thought about that before, if it would change something, and
do you think you'd be in a different place?
I do, just because of the way things, I do. Yeah. I definitely do. I think it would have, because maybe there would have been less interest to have caught up since we had, had little small talk or whatever. Or, if I can't remember, I guess I wasn't dating anyone. I know I wasn't dating anyone, but I'm sure whatever, I was talking to somebody, and I think I would have shut that down then, maybe the opportunity, because I'm very much one, like, if I kind of have a door open, I'm not about to have like 1,200 doors open. That's way too exhausting, and la-di-da, whole different subject. But that, I don't know, I could have just had my guard up super high and strong to where it wouldn't even been a possibility on either end for anything else to have opened, for whether him to reach out to me or me to reach out later on. Like, I do think it would have changed stuff for sure.
Changed your willingness almost to accept that.
Yeah, and it's weird how easily, because I'm a people person, so typically I like to, say hi, chat it up, whatever, and especially to this person specifically.
Yeah, well, that's good.
So, so for me to just have so calmly just not is weird, but now to think about it, and you think back at things and you're like, wow, shit does happen for a reason, and there is such a bigger plan, and it's so freaking amazing when you're able to be in a spot that you like see past events line up, and that's so cool. And then to think that I'm in one right now, that give it a year, 5 years, 10 years, that this is all just going to play into the puzzle as well, that excites me, that motivates me.
Which is interesting, right? Because you're as you can look back and recognize events and things that have happened and almost think like, oh, wow, that's cool. You can see this pattern. You can see how things, you weren't ready. And then time went through, you went through some whatever healing again. And then all of a sudden now you were ready, and then it worked out, and now things are beautiful. And now when you can recognize kind of the way things have happened in the past, start applying almost that same principle to the future, you can see where you're at now and where you're going to be going. And you can see how you are in that process and where you're at in it. And
well, and it's still crazy, like even people, right? People that pop up, whether it's a day that spark a conversation, whatever, people that come into your lives and so out of the blue, right? Like I have people, I don't know, all the time. I don't know if it's just like my line of work, if it's because people have told me I'm approachable, if it's like I like to have conversation and learn about people.
Just the sweetest onion in the patch.
I know, I'm an angel, aren't I? But people pop in, and then it's nice down the road to be like, wow, this is why they were in my life. And now to think tomorrow, today, in an hour, like somebody could pop into your life that you're like, holy shit, how I can't even imagine, you know, my life before you came in, or how you kind of turned my views and this and that. And like, I'm only 28. You know how many people are going to pop in and out of my life, and the things and, you know, lessons I'm going to learn and take away and stuff. It's just,
it's crazy.
It's awesome. It's really cool. And then when that starts to happen, then I like to be able to open myself up, you know, to opportunities and say yes to things, or put myself out there and get out of my comfort zone a little bit, because I know how rewarding it is. Yeah.
You can almost predict kind of the way things are, or the way things are going. It's interesting. I think it's super cool. It's really cool to be able to understand that and be able to not so much predict, but just be like vulnerable to that possibility. Whereas, like you said before, like do you think there's a piece of the self-growth? Like, what do you think is the most important piece of self-growth? Is it being able to be vulnerable to, you know, the whatever's about to happen, like to where you would be shut off and have a wall built instead?
For one, I think it's super, super important to realize you're never done growing.
Yes. Okay.
And I think that kind of feeds in then to keeping yourself open, right? Open-minded, open-hearted, to be able to let things in or people in, and to be able to reflect. Okay. I think is huge. And to accept like your emotions and your mindset. You know, it's so easy. I don't know whether, I think for everyone, but even sometimes being a girl or a teenage girl and you're like, oh shit, I'm being that crazy psycho bitch, you know? And you're so worried about being that crazy psycho person that you like feel you have to bottle everything up because you don't want people to see your psycho. Well, you know what? That shit overflows and you become psycho. So I've learned that just embrace your emotions. You know, if you're feeling jealous at a time, just put it out there. Yeah. Wow, that made me feel super jealous. Whether that's justified or not, whatever, that's my emotion. Or, you know what? Today I'm just having a shit day. Why am I having a shit day? Is it something that I can, where's the bottom of it, you know, that it stems from, that I can grow and pick apart? And then that's where I feel like you do a lot of self-growth or learning. Like I know for me, where it's just kind of reflecting and analyzing a situation, like, what's the real reason I felt this emotion? You know, is it because of the little event that happened? Or is that stemming from an insecurity that maybe is from the past or whatnot, that I need to get to the absolute bottom to begin to move forward rather than just patch up that situation?
Do you think it's important to keep that to yourself, or do you kind of bounce that off of somebody when you're going through that discovery process, that self-growth, self-love process?
Honestly, I think a good balance of both. I think no one knows you like you know you, right? No one has all your events, all of the things you've been a part of, okay? So no one has the background that you do that you have on yourself. But with that being said, I know sometimes it can be really easy to get in your own head and this and that. And I think that's when it's important to have your few friends or family members or whoever it is that know you, right? And and I don't mean just like know you, but like know your heart, know your soul. They know the type of person that you are. And I think that's where you want to find that person that you're compatible with and that you work with, that you can share those things with. So that they can help you with your best interest, right? It's just surrounding yourself with the people that are going to look out for you and give you advice based on you and not necessarily their emotions and what they get out of it.
Okay.
And I think that's really hard to find.
Absolutely. Because you almost have to find somebody that's been healed themselves, right?
For sure. Like, I think that's a lot of times why you and I have great conversation, because we can understand a lot of that. You know what I mean? Where it's like, listen, I understand how this feels. I know this sucks. Here's where I went, or here's how it might feel after, or I don't know. And there's that trust there, right? Where there's some people where you're like, nah, they can tell me. Like, I have one really good friend. She's always my go-to because she can tell me, Ryan, get your shit together, or like stop thinking, or just basically smack me across the face, right?
Yeah.
But our relationship has got us to the point where she can say that stuff. Yep. And I'm like, damn it, you're right. Instead of being like, listen, you don't know me, you don't know my situation, and getting defensive about it.
Oh, yeah.
You know, like, it takes a certain relationship. It takes certain people to be able to do that. And I think if you are fortunate enough to have those people in your life, hold on to them.
Yeah.
Because that is valuable.
It's valuable stuff. People that you can actually be open and honest with, and almost vulnerable, kind of.
Yeah. You're not so worried about judgment.
Yeah.
You know? I mean,
right.
I think everyone naturally judges. It's a thing. But that you're not worried. You know, at the end of the day, they still got your back. You're still a team. All that jazz.
Okay. Yeah, I agree. I like that. That's pretty good. What do you think, in terms of the healing process and the self-love process, what do you think is the most important lesson to take away? What's like one of the hardest things that you had to go through, if you would say, during this like self-love, self-discovery phase, that you think has transformed you the most?
Damn. So just like overall big picture, huh?
I mean, like, what's one of the, so like, I know for me, letting go of this like identity that's been built for me of who I had to be, who I had to meet, who I had to be around, and like understanding that, listen, dude, you can let go of that shit and you can just be whoever you want, right? Like the things I'm doing now, a fucking podcast, YouTube channels, like all this shit that I've got, you know, the media company, the property management company, all the real estate, like all this stuff that I have was never something that like we were taught or learned as a kid.
Yeah.
Like my family never taught me how to do that. And like being able to let go of, you have to get into this 9-to-5 career. You have to do that same thing until you're 65. You have to retire at 65 and then be done. You have to like do all these tiny little smart things. I mean, I grew up and I think it's very smart, but don't spend money you don't have. And I think it's a very, very smart thing to do. But in order to grow a business and build these things that I have today, I've gone into some debt. And it was hard for me to do that because I know at some point I was
been conditioned.
Yeah, I was conditioned that I could not leverage debt as credit. It was like, unless you had a mortgage, but that was the only acceptable way to do it. Don't take a credit card debt. You don't do anything, like use investors. You don't do any of that stuff. Whereas now I've let go of that and it's allowed me to grow and explode and become all this more. So that, and then the divorce. The divorce was big. Like that was huge. I mean, nobody in my family's ever gotten a divorce. Nobody in our extended family's ever gone through a divorce.
Because we're
like,
the oldest. We're the experiment.
I know, and that's exactly
it's fine.
Well, you're not wrong either, because that's the thing. Like we try and like forge this path. I mean, I even look at my little sister.
Yeah.
Like I got her to live out here for almost a year, and that would never have happened if I hadn't gone full bananas and just done my thing.
Well, and our parents don't know what they're doing.
Right.
So we're the test child. I mean, come on. We could be way worse, you know?
Yeah. So I think me looking at things, that's the hardest thing for me.
Okay.
Being able to let go and understand, you know what, Josh? You're getting in a divorce. Like, this is happening.
Yeah.
You need to accept it. And you need to make the most. And it's going to be, it's part of your path. It's part of your journey. You have to go through this in order to get to that next phase that the universe or God needs to take you to.
Yeah.
So, like, me being able to let go and understand that was hard. It was very, very, very difficult.
Okay. So, for me, I think one of my biggest things, and for sure, is I have always been a pleaser. I never want to disappoint. I am terrified for somebody to be disappointed in me. Was terrified for somebody to be disappointed in me, I guess, because I think that also comes with a lack of self-confidence and just figuring out who you are and all that jazz.
Yeah.
So, and I don't know if it is part of like being the oldest and having, a big family and different things with my parents. I never wanted to disappoint my parents. I always wanted people to think highly of me. I was pretty big at, following the rules, have a very guilty conscience, like all that jazz. And I would kind of shape myself to be a person that I thought, whether it was my parents, society,
Okay.
whatever it was, wanted me to be. And I actually got in a really interesting conversation with this person that I'm dating about just how even that perception. So
Let's give him a name. Let's give him a name.
No.
Can we call him Eric? I like Eric. Eric's a cool name. If I had a friend, his name would be Eric. Let's call it Eric.
Okay, that's weird, but whatever. I'll play along with it.
We'll call him Eric.
But we were talking about so I have so much pressure, right, that I'm putting on myself because I'm trying to be this person that I think my parents want me to be. I think that society and all this stuff wants me to be.
Fitness bubble, right? This bubble that they've
For
created
sure.
of who you're supposed to be.
And I don't want to disappoint that.
Right.
But it's crazy now, looking back on it, who's the one that put all that pressure on?
Yeah.
Myself. Who's the one? It was my perception
of what they wanted you to
that created the perception of me that I thought they had.
Yeah.
Right? So, like, I'm making all of this up. I don't want to disappoint them. And obviously the divorce, I'm going to say it was a pretty big disappointment. You know,
Yeah.
I don't think it's definitely not anything that they're proud of.
Yeah.
And
It's not a life goal of ours either, right?
but the pain I felt, it was way too big, way too much that I didn't care if I was disappointing them anymore. And I needed that breakthrough to be able to figure out more about myself and focus on myself and say, you know what, I don't right now, all I have is me. I don't give two shits about what anyone thinks. I went through this whole fuck the world stage that now I laugh at a little bit just at my attitude because I seriously didn't give two shits on judgment and this and that. But it was also so freeing at that time because I didn't care. I wasn't living up to anyone's standards or, I wasn't trying to please anyone. I was just trying to survive, to be honest, emotionally and just.
Yeah.
And that was a huge thing for me is the more you start to focus on disappointing others or, like trying to morph yourself to be somebody that other people are going to accept and this and that, you're losing yourself. You're losing who you are.
You almost start living a life of, you start living other people's life.
Yeah,
you
and you
live your
never,
own.
the thing is, these people never even said this is what they expected of me. I like created that whole thing and it's so wild where it's just wild. You do it to yourself, but it's crazy, what the mind and the body and all that can do. It's nuts. But yeah, I think definitely being okay with disappointing people, even now, little decisions, right? Where it's like, if I do this, are people going to judge? Or, my family's a big part of my family. They're going to feel a little disappointment, this and that. Yeah, whatever. They'll get over it. If they love me at the end of the day, they'll be there. Honestly, everyone spends so much freaking time thinking about themselves and their own situations. They probably gave it 3 minutes, if that, out the window.
Yeah, that's true.
Until you pop back in their life for a second.
Absolutely. Nobody cares.
So, and then, like I said, it's just way more freeing. And you're like, cool. I got me. I can do me. And at the end of the day, if it is just me, I'm finally okay with that. Like, it's okay. I can be stable.
Cool.
And be just
being stable-ish. But no, that's so true though, because think about like people like even you and I, right? I don't think about I don't know, some guy that we saw earlier when we were hanging out. Like I don't even think about that guy, but he probably did something that he's like, oh shit, I fucked up, and like now they're gonna think about like it's just in his head, and that's all he thinks about. I've already forgot the guy's name, his face, his like everything about like. But we think that everybody is so focused on us, when in reality, everyone's just focused on themselves.
Two shits.
Everyone's doing the same bullshit in their own fucking head.
Yep. Everyone's so fixated on that stuff. So then that's also interesting. This is kind of getting off whatever. But when you start to figure people out and you start to figure that out, right? If you go into a store and, okay, for example, drive-through, right? People are going through drive-thrus all the freaking time.
Yep.
People are, hey, how are you? Blah, blah. What do you want to order? This. When you ask one of those people, oh, I'm great. How's your day? They're like, holy shit. I have to what? You're asking me? I've had multiple people that are like, thank you for asking me how my day is. And you're like, that is so sad. Everyone's so fixated in their own world. And if you're able to pay attention, what is it for me to say, hey, how are you today?
Yeah.
Nothing. That's literally 2 seconds of my life. And I just changed that person's whole world around. Not to mention I could start a conversation and learn something crazy or be connected in some sort of way. Like that's even just staying open to opportunity.
Right.
And so once you can learn to use that for yourself and just appreciating others, or, you know, taking the extra step to make somebody else feel good, it's insane. You feel like you know, you're just rocking and rolling.
You can control things almost.
Yeah.
Right?
And then
you
people look to you because you're, you know, making them feel a certain way and it's so sad that so many people go through their day and they don't converse or they don't feel appreciated. And that to me is so sad because everyone has so much to give and so much to offer.
Mm-hmm. Do you think that there's a political effect? Like I almost feel like the political environment of today is a huge contributor to the reason that we feel like everybody's like we're all at each other's throat, kind of like we just see somebody and assume that
Judgment.
like they hate us or we hate them or something.
Oh yeah, you're judged off of everything right now, and you know that's just assumed. Yeah, so much assumption and judgment. Oh, it's heartbreaking. It's terrifying. I hate it.
Instead of everybody being along and being happy and
everyone like coming together,
asking how your day was.
Yeah, no, God
Everyone's
forbid
at each other's throat.
You better ask with the damn megaphone from 15 feet away nowadays.
That, and you can't put a damn sign or flag in your yard without somebody ripping it down, peeing on it, or shooting you. Yeah, crazy. But that's very interesting though. Okay, so you're the biggest thing you've taken away is just really relinquishing the paradigm that people that we build for
and
ourselves.
Just being confident in my own decisions and not, you know,
not worrying about the perception of other people.
because if I am confident, I can handle people judging. It's fine, and people judge no matter what. So.
Mm-hmm. Do you feel like, I guess where you are today, do you think you've healed through a lot of the things of your past? Do you think you're at a healthy place right now?
Oh, 1,000%.
Yeah.
For sure. Now, does that mean that I don't have, you know, places that still require growth? Not at all. I think, like I said before, I think there's always room for growth.
Yeah.
And I think growth is very, very important. But yes, wow, is it crazy? This stuff. I mean, even just a year ago, 6 months ago, it's nuts. So then thinking back 6 years ago, totally different person.
Right.
Totally different person.
And what do you think it was that put you on the path to get to where you are today? To make you that whole different person? Because a lot of times, like when I get hit up with questions and stuff and people are asking things, they're like, how do I change? Like, how do we become that different person? And a lot of times I tell them, like, you have to take action. Figure out what you want to do and take action towards it, which means letting go of things, breaking up with people, changing jobs. You gotta
get a little uncomfortable.
You have to do something.
And I had to get a hell of a lot uncomfortable because I got way outside my comfort zone. I mean, especially with divorce, you know, like that.
Mm-hmm.
Whew, talk about disappointing and standing up for yourself and different things. Like, I think you have to get uncomfortable. Something has to eat at you. Something, if you're comfortable, I think it's really hard to say that you're going to grow much. You know what I mean? Like, and sometimes even for me now, where I think I'm doing pretty good and I try, you know, to stay consistent with growing and always learning and keeping my mind open and being around people that can have these kind of conversations with to continue to grow. Mm-hmm. But I can also feel now when I'm starting to get back into that like mindset or comfort where I'm like, oh shit, okay, I've worked at this job for this long. I've been around these people. I've been in this, like, I'm settling. And I don't even know that I want to put that title on it, but I can just tell I'm coasting.
Yeah.
And that's when I go, okay, I got to change something here. Whether it's like, maybe I need to look for a new job. Maybe it's just a new certification. Okay. Something that I need to get myself outside the comfort zone to open back up to possibilities to keep growing and to keep learning. Mm-hmm. And for me, I think encountering new people is a huge way for me to grow personally. Learning about other people helps me kind of change my outlook and perspective, and hearing other people's thoughts and stuff out that causes me to grow. Or, you know, sometimes people just say the right thing and you're like, oh shit, so that's why I've been feeling that way, or this and that, or their outlook. And so for me, I have to make myself get out into new situations, be around new people when I start to feel that way.
So getting yourself comfortable feeling uncomfortable.
100%. Yeah.
Almost getting excited about it, really.
For
probably,
sure. It's
right?
great. Like, open yourself up to the possibilities, and it's exciting.
See where it goes. Yeah, what a fantastic point. Shifting back to kind of like the the relationship side of things and talking with like guys and stuff, because obviously I have a male perspective and a masculine perspective on things, so it's good to hear kind of and give the audience a taste of like what does the female side see. And when you look at polarities in a relationship, right, we attract the opposite polarity. What do you notice in terms of, from the female perspective, what do a lot of guys, what's like the most common mistake or thing that you think they do wrong in the dating game to try and like attract the female that they're looking for?
So I'm actually going to kind of go just overall person with this, because I think this is one of the biggest things, and I think it goes both ways. I truly believe that you attract what you put out, right? So for instance, I'll just do it guy way, since that's what you're kind of asking. If you're a guy, okay, that is super into, I don't know, video games, watching TV, pretty chill, hanging out on the couch, going home after work, just chilling.
Yeah.
Not that there's anything wrong with that. What's wrong with that is when you're trying to attract a person that is physically fit, out at the gym, you know, growing, doing all these things. Well, dude, why would somebody like that be looking for somebody sitting on the couch?
Yeah.
And I want to take that in the best way possible. I don't mean that they're like a loser and this and that. Flip side.
Yeah.
Okay.
No, I
like
get the
I've had that with
example.
myself. If I'm chilling,
Right.
I'm getting irritated. Like, I don't know, dating, finding someone's exhausted. I don't really give a shit anymore. So I'm just going to chill. I'm single. I'm going to wear sweatpants and a hoodie every day. Sorry about it, Eric, because I basically do. But if I'm doing that and I'm just chilling, why would I expect to attract a dude that's like put together, out there, motivated, this and that? It doesn't make sense. So that's even when I've had to turn inwardly, you know, a few months back, wherever, stupid things like, no, I'm gonna like get my nails done, because it just like shows that you're like taking care of yourself. You feel good about yourself. So that way I don't complain when somebody in ripped up sweatpants, you know, and chilling with crumbs on their shirt is the one that I'm attracting. Yeah. So I just think the biggest thing is people setting these standards but not living up to them themselves. And that's like a light bulb that's clicked with me probably about 6 months ago or so. And honestly, The Secret, that book, I had a friend say, read this book, and it kind of explains all of that, which was wild because it was like kind of after I made this connection. Oh my God, hands down, loved it. Quick read. I think anyone should read it. But yeah, where you're just, why would you expect something from somebody else? Or why do you think that you deserve that kind of a person when you're not even stepping up to the plate and being that person? You know what I mean? A person of that status, why would they be attracted to you?
Yeah. And I think it's important to, because on that same note, right, understanding that what you are is what you attract, the energy you put out is what you attract, is not necessarily saying if I am a masculine man and do these masculine quality things, like take charge, make decisions, you know, own mistakes, like do these things, that I'm necessarily going to attract masculine energy.
Right.
I will attract whatever the energy is that I'm putting out. I will attract that same energy back.
Right. For me, it's just that you're working on yourself, whether it's physically, mentally, you know, whatever it is, you're working on yourself. And I don't even mean like, hey, I want somebody that goes to the gym, so I better be in the gym. I don't even think it has to be that. It's just, I want somebody that's active. I mean, and I'm actually saying this, like for me personally, I do want somebody that's active. I like to do things. I'm a doer. I'm not very good at sitting on the couch. So, but why would I expect to attract somebody that's active if my ass is sitting on the couch? And it doesn't have to be even the same things, like I said, the gym necessarily. Like maybe you're into mountain biking, but to me that's you're growing. If you're out there doing stuff, you're challenging yourself. It's that whole mental mindset of somebody that I'm looking for too. Yeah. So
what about on the, so we're talking very kind of like physical features and stuff, and understanding kind of like the energy put out on the physicality side. What about the emotional side of life? What do you think are those same principles, do they apply on the emotional side?
I honestly think they're kind of all wrapped in into each other.
Yeah.
And I think sometimes I've noticed or made this connection of guys that I've been around, if they're more active, and I use that term lightly, like I know between myself and my family and stuff, we can get very intense with the word active, you know?
Yeah.
But I just mean out and doing things, right? Like
right.
just active, okay? I think typically you're going to be growing mentally and emotionally. I think there's a lot of stuff that connects with how your mentality is, your mental toughness, all of that, with being somebody that's active and doing things, right? I think it's a lot easier to be in a pity, depression, poor me mode, or to just kind of settle in this and that if you're stagnant and you're just chilling and you're just going through life's, you know, day in and day out. You kind of have your routine and you're waiting for somebody to bust into your routine. Well, sorry about it, but like, you got to open yourself up and get out there. And so I think when people put themselves out there, step out of their comfort zone, then to me that your mentality is already in a different place in my book, if that makes sense.
Yeah.
Because I also know that it's a fight every day. I don't think it's always easy to get yourself up, to get out. I mean, especially nowadays when everyone's freaking working from home and remote and this and that, you can easily get in a slump and not do stuff. So even if you just see somebody out walking on the street, like just getting yourself out and walking, to me, you're already, your mentality, like you're choosing one step better for yourself.
Interesting. Yeah. Do you think that there's a sense of two people being able to provide value? Like you need to be able to come to the table and be like, I can bring value to the table for person X or whoever it is that you're in a relationship with. And if they can't return some sort of value to help me grow, improve, become a better person, discover more stuff, like if they can't provide the value too, then it leads to this stagnation almost, to where like you're no longer interested and you lose this interest in them. Yeah.
And I think people provide value in all different ways. And I think that shifts depending on what you have going on, right? I think that's a big thing with relationships, is kind of figuring out your song and dance. Like right now, I know in my relationship, I am the one that's like growing, or I'm having a harder time because I'm getting a little bit uncomfortable. Okay. So, and I've voiced that. And so like right now, I think that he is providing a lot of value, helping me grow as a person. That's ultimately going to help us grow together. But I also know that there's going to be a shift where at some point I'm going to, you know, be the one that is supporting and helping and kind of maybe being the rock while he is figuring out something else.
Yeah.
So I think it's figuring out your song and dance and kind of bouncing back on, I don't know.
Do you think it goes in waves to where one person provides value and then another person does? Or do you think that you're always providing value, but
the percentage changes?
It's just, okay.
You know, like I think you're always, because if I wasn't providing any value to him, then that's just energy being sucked out of him.
Yeah.
No one wants that.
Right.
Right? So I think it definitely, but right now, I think he's got a little more in there.
He's bringing more to the
table.
table.
Yeah, you know, or he is helping a little more or whatever. I guess I don't know the words I want to use.
Maybe to you, right?
Yeah.
He's bringing a lot of value to you.
Yes.
Do you think there's things though that you do? Because I'm only bringing this up because I think he's in the relationship for a reason. If you weren't, I don't think he would be around.
Oh, no, for sure.
Right?
For sure.
So like there's something that you're bringing to the table that brings that sense of emotional value to him.
Oh yeah, and he says that because I worry, right? So here's me getting in my own head of like, holy shit, you're being so patient and helping me, and like I'm gonna voice to you and I'm gonna be upfront saying that like this is a growing stage for me and you're scaring the shit out of me, but also that's not gonna cause me to back down because I'm very much into this, but you just got to be patient because I'm coming. So like just be patient and be there, and I'm worried that I'm gonna wear you down or that you're gonna not be able to handle this and leave. And he very much is like, okay, no, that's not the case, so shut up. I mean, doesn't say that, but you know what I mean?
Yeah.
That's my perspective because of what I'm feeling. And
So do you think that this growth phase then that you're kind of going through as it's not, I guess it's not really like a growth phase, but it's more of you recognizing almost like a match and being scared of it?
Oh, 1,000%. And I think I kind of touched base with you on this a little bit in the car where it's once you find something that you almost have to justify in a person of maybe like a relationship working out or something, or to me, it's like your big red flag. Okay, it's cool. Hit my big red flag. I enjoy this person. We can have fun. But I already know, long term, it's not happening. Like I can already look down the road and go, this isn't happening. So now I can chill.
Right.
Because I feel somewhat in control of, I guess, my emotions, or I know I'm not putting my heart out on the table to get crushed because I've already decided I'm putting my heart out on the table.
Right.
Right? Where right now, just going to be honest, this is scaring the living shit out of me because every day is a decision of, do I suck back to my old self? Do I put my guard up and just stay in my safety zone? Or do I put myself out there and there's a big possibility that like shit's going to hit the fan and I am going to go down hard. But the possibility and the feeling of where it's headed and what's at the end is so much more fulfilling that I am slowly getting over that fear of like I'm gonna get crushed.
Hey guys, thanks so much for tuning in to the part 1 of this interview. Coming out next episode is going to be the part 2, so it's actually just as long. We went for about an hour and a half or an hour 40 minutes. So it's a very in-depth conversation, but it continues. So make sure to check us out. Mariah continues to go in depth on everything that we talked about in terms of relationships, dating, advice for everybody else moving forward, and perspective coming from a male side or from the female side. So check us out. Make sure you guys go to fulfillment_podcast on Instagram. Give me some DMs. Let me know the feedback if you guys like from this episode, as well as go on Apple Podcasts. Be sure to rate us and follow us there. Thank you guys so much. We'll see you in the next one. Bye.